Okay.
For those of you at home, the VGDC Wi-Fi just kind of shot itself a little bit, but it's fine.
I think this whole school Wi-Fi went down for a little bit.
What?
Alright.
Happened?
Alright, to continue. Like I said, you can sit down and read through it, but it's going to be hard. Especially in a game where you have to sift through all these effects. It's going to be a bit irritating to figure out what weapon you want. And more irritation means you're probably going to get off the game pretty fast. Or faster than you would if you had easier to read. And now we have Yu-Gi-Oh! Here. I think this is one of the newer cards. I haven't seen cards like these. But you can see they had to expand the description box to fit in all the mechanics. There is no world building here. It's just mechanics. And they had to shrink it down so hard. And when you're... So, like, just imagine, you're just a new Yu-Gi-Oh! Player, you're ready to get into the game, and then you figure out that the meta is cards like these, and you're like, what is going on? I watched Yu-Gi-Oh! What's the XYZ dragon? What's a synchro dragon even? Supreme King Search? What the? And you have to read through all this stuff, and it just discourages people from trying to learn the game because it's too complicated. It's like trying to solve algebra, or calculus rather.
What's especially funny is that it's talking about synchro summoning, fusion summoning, XYZ summoning. That's a pendulum summon card, and it doesn't even really talk about that.
Yeah, as you can see here with the expansion, it's transparent because the art is bigger than what the description will allow. So yeah, this is a pretty wordy example, but you know, descriptions like these will make the game harder for people to play. So, I imagine some of you have come across some particularly bad examples of video game descriptions. If you have some, speak now or hold your silence. Hold your peace. Is that what it says?
Dark Souls. It's so Shakespearean that it doesn't even really tell you what the thing actually does.
Yeah, I remember reading about the tiny being.
Yeah, and it took people forever to figure out what it actually does.
What I find interesting about Elden Ring is like the translation itself goes for like the Shakespearean like fantasy like writing style. So I'm really curious what it looks like in the OG Japanese.
Victorian Japanese.
Oldest Japanese from the Edo period. I don't really have any other examples, if any. So yes. Well, we just shared that.
I was gonna jokingly say League of Legends because nobody reads the passives or whatnot. But simply, like, if you, I think you will know what the item does. Just simply find like the small blurb of stats it holds. Nobody reads the passives or like active descriptions.
I see.
Yeah, writing patch notes can be an entire workshop in and of itself, honestly.
Oh dear. Well, I guess we're done waiting. So, it's not the end of the world if you write a long description. You can shorten them. It is not... Sometimes you might not need to shorten them, but it's good to shorten them anyway, because it just improves the flow of the game better. For example, we have Genshin Impact again with a spear. Now, this is actually not that bad, at least not compared to Ayato's weapon. But you could do a bit better. For example, with the first effect, the attack and defense is increased by the same percentage. However, they are separated into different clauses for some reason. You can put them together, and that is what this website has done. As you can see here, it takes these two clauses, attack is increased by 16% and defense is increased by 16%, and puts it into one clause, increases attack and defense by 32%. The stats are different on this website, so don't worry about that. And it also has a second bullet point to make it easier to read. I will say Genshin Impact has bullet points. For some reason, it only has one of them though. You can see here it has like one tiny itty bitty bullet points. if your game allows you to have bullet points, then use them. I decided to do an exercise where I tried to shorten it down, make it easier to read, and this is what I came up with. Hopefully, it is not as bad to read, and that my job here has actually made it better to read than worse to read. See here, all the effects are separated into their own bullet points, and they're shortened to not have, and they're made more concise. You get the necessary details because there's no flavor text here. Now you might be wondering, what is flavor text? What is this thing you're talking about? You haven't introduced this yet. Well, this is the time for me to introduce flavor text, actually. So what is flavor text? It is supplementary text that technically serves no mechanical purpose. But it does have a purpose, and its main purpose is to make items more interesting to read through. So for example, players will have an okay time if you just have mechanics in your descriptions. But you can make players a lot more engaged reading through them if you have like favorite flavor text that like either introduces reveals stuff about characters, reveals stuff about the lore. It'll make them more engaged with the atmosphere of the game. It'll probably make them more interested in the overall story. And I like the slide here. It says, like the slide says, it'll be often mixed with regular descriptions. For the reasons I stated earlier. So to go back, see this grayish text? That actually is an example of a flavor text. It doesn't do anything to explain what this weapon actually is supposed to do. It just gives some world building on how this beer came to be, and it makes the game a bit more interesting. Now it's a question on if you're interested in the game at all, but you get my point. So some more examples other than Genshin Impact. So here is an example from Borderlands. I don't know if this is from the second or the third game, but that's not the point. So every legendary item in the game has this red text that will either be pretty funny to read through or solidifies the atmosphere, the kind of vibe that the gun is trying to give off. So for example, this red text, if you can read it, helps solidify the gun as an Earthbound reference. If you can, along with the title and the paint job of the gun, which I cropped out because I thought I had no space.
Turbo Mother, Turbo Hitler.
Turbo Mother 2.
Oh.
Oh, like the game.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to learn what this flavor text reads?
I can't. I'm not.
Well, I can read it out if you want.
Okay, yeah, it's kind of hard. Also, I'm colorblind, so like the red and the.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Alright, so the flavor text says, "Thank you for taking the time to read this flavor text. This flavor text loves you." And it's an Earthbound reference to a sign that kind of has the same thing. Except flavor text is replaced with sign, of course. Another example of flavor text is from a game called Hyperdimension Neptunia. You might argue that it's just regular mechanical description. It says it's a wooden sword. But it also characterizes the character. Basically, from this text, you can kind of figure that this person likes going through trash and picking out horrible weapons, and for some reason likes using them. And this helps characterize Neptune in a way that perhaps that maybe dialogue couldn't do as well. Another example is Magic the Gathering. This is a mix of regular descriptions and flavor text. All the flavor text in Magic the Gathering, from what I can tell, is in italics. So as you can see, the regular text just tells you what the card does. The enchanted creature can't attack or block. But then for the flavor text, you have this funny little quote about this Krog dude who doesn't fight because he might kill a butterfly if he fights, and that would be pretty sad. And then we have one last example here, which is this gun from Far Cry 5. Actually, it's not a gun. This is a skin for a flamethrower. And if you already have a flamethrower, you already probably know what it does. So instead of a regular description, it gives you some flavor text. It says here, what else are you going to put on the flamethrower besides flames? Come on. And the description's kind of right. Why would you put anything else other than flames on the flamethrower? Alright, so we looked through the flavor text, we looked through regular descriptions, but what does this look like in a singular game? Well, I'm going to show you how a game called Yakuza does its descriptions.
Yeah.
Yeah, who knew? Okay, so there's one regular description for the Staminan XX. It basically tells you it restores your health and charges heat significantly. So it's like a healing item, basically. So the weapon description here is a bit of a flavor text, if I had to say. It doesn't tell you how the weapon works because it's pepper spray. It automatically assumes that you know how to use the pepper spray. It even says, I don't need to explain how this works, do I? It's designed for self-defense. So it just kind of explains a bit about the weapon, but doesn't tell you how it works. Every time you go into a bar in this game and you order some liquor, all the bartenders will give you some backstory on what the liquor is. So, for example, here, the bartender named Toby explains how this whiskey, I think it's a whiskey, right? It talks about the distilling process and how it affects the taste and stuff. The game awards you an achievement for buying all of the alcohol in the game, and this just helps make it a lot more interesting to go through all the alcohol. And this last example is from Yakuza 7. It has all your regular description stuff, like it shows you the name, it shows you what category it's in, what location it spawns in, the rarity, what skills it has, the weakness, and the drops. Only the features really is flavor text. It basically tells you, I'm not going to tell you what this Yakuza does. It's a Yakuza in a game called Yakuza. What do you want me to do with it? So basically, this is a good example of a mix between mechanical and flavor text. If you want to know more about specifically character and world building and in games, then I got you covered too. I definitely did not steal this slide off of a previous workshop. I definitely did not. But basically, you got these two descriptions from a game called Pyre. You got Headwinds, Cooking Tins, and you got Pamela's Moonshine. And this kind of explains. This helps characterize these two characters because of the flavor text. You see here it says here, Headwind does most of the cooking. So you can probably tell that Headwind is a good cook. If he wasn't a good cook, he probably would not be cooking anything. And you can tell from Pamela's Moonshine. I guess the mere existence of it is that Pamela is probably really enjoys liquor. Otherwise, she would not be making liquor herself. And then we go on to a game called Tales of Vesperia. I don't know if this is the name of the weapon, but whatever. There's a weapon in the game called a Second Star, and the flavor text for that weapon is the first one is for him. It's intentionally vague to make you more intrigued about the world. What the heck is him, and what is the first one? It basically serves to make you more interested in the story. Like you're like, this probably serves some. It probably does something. Sorry, but yeah. Second star, first one is for him. You know, and then we have and we go on to here. I don't actually know where this game comes from. I don't know what game this comes from, but as you can see here, this is basically alcohol, but it's labeled by different people, and you can tell from those different labels what their personality is kind of like. So, for example, Korenic, notes of fruit and anger. They're probably a liquor connoisseur because they're able to like kind of have this artistic evaluation of like what this whiskey is. And then you have Anris, who just says, "Oh, it's bottle whimsy." You can probably tell that they probably don't care as much about the alcohol. And yeah.
For the record, the top two, Pamitha and Headwind, that's from Pyre, which is the same studio that made Hades.
Mm-hmm.
Then Tales of Vesperia. The vintages are from Dragon Age Inquisition from the Bottles on the Wall.
Oh.
Cameo.
Oh, I see. All right. Thank you. Thanks for explaining, Brandon. So yeah, even though these are just small blurbs on labels, it helps kind of it helps you imagine what kind of people these are. So yeah, I guess we'll move on. So this is the third time we're doing this. If anyone has any memorable examples of flavor text, then share it with us right now. Yes, Ryan?
That Undertale, despite everything, it's still you.
Yes.
And going off of what about Undertale, how certain weapons, their flavor text would change depending on what route you're in. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, can you just give us an example of that, or is that just a general?
I don't know, like
thing
when
you
you
wanna
have like the weapon at the end of the game, the knife or whatever.
Uh-huh.
Like it'll say, like this knife belongs to you. You're going the evil route, and then but just like a generic description if you're doing like a good or a neutral route. That sort of thing.
Yeah. Yes, yeah. So like I said before, flavor text can really help the player be more engaged with the game if you do it like that. Any more examples people want to point out?
Yeah, there's Clash Royale. There's a example in Clash Royale of flavor text. So for each card, the description is clear, and then it also has the little story about that card.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sorting through them a a lot more fun than it would be without it.
Yeah, and there's also another good point about Clash Royale is it shows a video of how that card works. So
Oh, yeah.
rather than just reading the description.
Sure, that is a very good example. All right, I guess that's enough for this time. All right, we have an activity. I have prepared a wheel of different settings. So for people who cannot see it, I have prepared the settings of high fantasy, space opera, cyberpunk, YA dystopia, Candyland, and Ball Pit. Those last two are up for your interpretation. I'm going to scroll through. I'm going to roll the wheel.
Then this wheel has items specifically.
Right.
So combine the two, make
And,
a description for a genre-specific item.
Yeah, make a description and some flavor text for the weapon, depending on the item for the setting. I will roll this now. I'm going to randomly select a person who's been listening this entire time. All right, so we got a space opera.
That's space opera. And gun. Space opera gun.
Yes. How about you help us figure out what it is? What is the description?
Space opera?
Space opera is something like a Star Wars or a Star Trek.
Yeah.
That'll give you an idea.
That's
Oh.
pretty easy.
Yeah, for a gun, you could, you said
We'll
description?
give you time to think of it.
Yeah.
Like,
Go again. Spins.
Oh, alright. Alright, has anyone said anything? No. Cameron has been silent this entire time. Alright. The setting is YA dystopia. So if you don't know that, it's something like Hunger Games, Divergent, stuff like that. And you have to describe a health potion within this world. Yeah, that's right. You have to come up with something. Alright, I guess we're gonna roll a third time. Oh, it's YA dystopia again.
YA dystopia gun.
YA dystopia gun. What? I have to do it?
Yes.
Oh no. Okay, well. All right. So the gun is a gun. It shoots 9mm bullets. Probably not very powerful, but enough to kill a single person. I guess the flavor text would be. If it's a YA dystopia, it's probably not going to be in the best condition, so probably use something like a little rusty, but it still gets the job done. Something like that. Alright, I'm going to roll the wheel again. Probably good. How many more times should we do this? Alright, we'll do one more. Alright, high fantasy armor.
Alright, my armor. The Ebony Darkness Dementia Raven armor. It grants you immunity to holy damage. And the description is he had Voldemort in bondage.
Alright, have you two figured out your descriptions yet?
Can understand that.
Sure. Sure, I guess. Like, my gun would be like a dual-handed, like, laser rifle. Or two-handed, not two-handed, but two-handed laser rifle, capable of, like, chopping any enemy in half. And then the flavor text would be, like, forged from, like, a powerful crystal from a nearby planet.
Mhm.
Just
Yeah, that works. Alright, how about you?
So for a YA dystopia tonic or health potion, I guess just like this potion fuels the revolution. This potion fuels the soldiers of the revolution against, like you said, Hunger Games, for example. It's like revolution against snow or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Just get that off of here. Alright, so that's it for the activity. And that's basically it. That is the end of our presentation, and I reward you with 2 flavor texts. I did not realize before that Team Fortress 2 allowed you to choose your own quote for the gun. Yeah, so if you want to keep looking at it, then I'll leave it up here. But that is basically the end of our workshop.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Huh? Oh. Yeah, thank you for attending, Cameron.
Close the Zoom. Close the Zoom.
Alright. You gotta stop sharing. Do we